The desert morning was quiet, too quiet for a land that usually woke with the cries of hawks and the far-off groan of cattle. A lonely cowboy named Elias Crow rode across the valley, dust kicking up behind his tired horse. He wasn't searching for anything in particular that day, just gathering strays and checking fences before the heat swallowed the plains whole. Elias lived alone, miles from any town. Folk sometimes joked that he spoke more words to the wind than to any living soul. The frontier does that to a man, slowly chips away at him until silence becomes company. But Elias had chosen that life. Or maybe it had chosen him. The sun had barely risen when his horse jerked suddenly, ears pointed toward the mesquite trees ahead. "What is it, girl?" Elias whispered. A faint sound drifted through the brush, soft, broken, like a whimper swallowed by fear. Elias dismounted, hand resting on the revolver at his hip. He walked quietly, boots pressing into the sand with slow, deliberate steps. Then he stopped. Under the shade of a twisted mesquite, curled up and trembling, was a little girl. Her dress was torn, her hair braided in the old Apache style, dust stuck to her cheeks like she'd been running for days. Her small hands were scraped, and her lip carried a dried streak of blood. Elias lowered his voice. "Hey there, easy now." The girl flinched at his voice, backing against the tree trunk as if expecting a blow. He knelt slowly, holding his hands up, palms open. "Ain't gonna hurt you. I swear it." Her dark eyes were wide with terror, darting from Elias to his horse to the empty desert behind him. Every breath she took trembled. "You lost?" Elias asked softly. She gave no answer, but tears welled up in her eyes. Elias noticed something, a thin rope tied around her wrist, frayed like it had snapped during a struggle. Someone had tied this child. Someone cruel. "Lord above," Elias muttered. "What happened to you, little one?" The girl whispered something, barely a sound. He leaned in. "Say again?" She swallowed. "Help, Mama." Elias felt his chest tighten. "You got a mother out there?" She nodded weakly. "Well then," he said gently, "we best get you somewhere safe. You're hurt, and whoever did this might still be roaming." Elias wrapped his coat around her because she was shivering even under the rising sun. He lifted her into his arms carefully, and she hid her face in his shoulder like she hadn't known safety in many moons. He mounted his horse, holding her securely, and turned toward his isolated cabin. He didn't know who this girl belonged to, but one thing was certain, someone was searching desperately for her. Before we continue, if you're new here, welcome to Frontier Echoes, where we bring you raw, gripping stories from the Old West, truth, fiction, and everything in between, shaped by dust and danger. If you love tales of courage and heart, saddle up. Now back to the story. Back at the cabin, Elias prepared water and bandages. The girl sat on the edge of his bed, watching him with cautious eyes. She didn't speak unless necessary, but fear lived in every movement she made. "What's your name?" Elias asked softly. She hesitated. "Tala." "That's a beautiful name," he said. "Mine's Elias." She stared at him, trying to gauge if he was telling the truth. Elias knew that look. He'd seen it in strays, in wounded horses, and once in a survivor of a raid brought home by passing traders. It was the look of someone who trusted no one because trust had been shattered too violently. He cleaned her cuts carefully, and for the first time, she relaxed a little. When he handed her a bowl of warm stew, she ate with quick, desperate bites like she hadn't eaten in days. "Tala," Elias said gently, "you said your mama, where is she?" Tala's hands shook. "Mama, taken. Men, bad men." Elias' jaw tightened. He'd heard stories of raids on small Apache camps, outlaws pretending to be soldiers, or soldiers pretending not to be outlaws. It didn't matter which was true. Suffering was the same. "Do you know where she is?" Elias asked. Tala nodded slowly. North. Canyon with red walls. Elias knew the place, High Ridge Canyon. Dangerous territory for anyone, but especially for a woman alone. You want me to find her? He asked, though he already knew the answer. The girl clutched his sleeve with tiny trembling fingers. Please. Elias swallowed. He had lived a quiet life, but quiet didn't mean selfish. He'd lost enough in his life to know what this child was feeling, the ache of wondering if someone you loved was still alive. He placed a hand on her shoulder. I'll bring her back. Tala's eyes filled with fragile hope. Elias saddled his horse at noon. He packed water, rope, rifle, revolver, and enough food for a 2-day ride. Before leaving, he knelt in front of Tala. You stay inside. Don't open the door for anyone but me. Understand? She nodded quickly. He gave her his knife, a small one, but sharp enough. Just in case. Tala held it like a lifeline. Elias mounted his horse, tipped his hat to her, and rode out toward High Ridge Canyon. The day grew hotter, shadows disappearing beneath the burning sun. The closer he got to the canyon, the more tracks he found, boot prints, wagon wheels, military horseshoes. Someone had passed through recently and in numbers. By sundown, he reached the canyon's edge. Red stone walls rose like ancient guardians, shadows pooling in the narrow paths. He dismounted, leading his horse quietly. Any sound could echo for miles. As Elias reached a bend in the canyon, he heard voices, male, laughing, cruel. Campfire light flickered between two large boulders. He crept forward. What he saw set his blood boiling. 3 outlaws sat around the fire, drinking and mocking something, or someone, behind them. And then he saw her. A woman. Bound. Injured. Exhausted. Her hair long and black like Tala's. Her dress torn. Her wrist bruised where rope cut into it. She had the fierce beauty of a warrior and the sorrow of a widow carved deep into her face. Tala's mother. The outlaws weren't hiding her. They were waiting for something Elias didn't care to understand. He whispered to himself, "Hang on, ma'am. I'm getting you out." Elias backed away quietly to find a better angle. He circled the canyon wall, climbing up until he had a vantage point above the fire. He steadied his rifle. 1 deep breath. He fired. The first outlaw dropped instantly. The others scrambled for cover, shouting curses. Mason fired again, hitting a second. The third outlaw ran for his horse. Elias slid down the rocks like a storm. The outlaw mounted, about to flee. Elias tackled him, pulling him down by the leg. They fought dirty, fists, knees, elbows. The outlaw grabbed Elias' throat, squeezing until the world blurred. Elias reached for a rock and struck the man twice, knocking him out cold. Breathing hard, Elias stood and rushed to the woman. She stared at him with fierce suspicion. "Who are you?" "Elias Crow," he said. "Your daughter sent me." At the word daughter, her entire body shook. "Tala? She's alive? She's safe. With me." Tears streamed down her face, a mix of relief and agony. "Untie me. Please." Elias cut the ropes carefully. She winced, but when free, she stood tall despite her pain. "We must go," she said urgently. "They'll come back with more." "Don't worry," Elias replied. "I'll get you home." He helped her onto his horse. She clung to the saddle horn, exhausted but determined. As they rode out, she asked softly, "You saved my daughter?" "I just found her," Elias said. "She did the rest." "Maya," the woman said. "My name is Maya." "Well, Maya," Elias replied, "your daughter's waiting." The journey back was slow. Maya was weak, and Elias feared the outlaws might track them. Every night, he stayed awake with his rifle ready while Maya slept lightly, waking at every sound. One night, by the fire, she whispered, "I thought Tala was gone. I searched for her until they caught me." "She's a strong kid," Elias said. "She didn't give up." Maya looked into the flames. "You remind me of my husband. He died protecting us from raiders." Elias swallowed. "I'm sorry. You have the same look in your eyes," Maya continued. "A man who carries grief but still chooses kindness." Elias didn't respond. Kindness wasn't something he thought he had left. But Tala, and now Maya, had pulled it out of him like a buried truth. On the third morning, they reached the cabin. Elias stopped his horse and helped Maya down. Before he could knock, the door burst open. Tala ran out, crying, screaming, calling for her mother. "Mama!" Maya dropped to her knees, arms open wide. Tala threw herself into her mother's embrace, sobbing into her dress. Maya cried just as fiercely, holding her daughter like she might disappear again. Elias stepped back, giving them space. He had seen reunions before, but none that struck him so deeply. Something warm pressed against his throat, a feeling he hadn't allowed himself in years. After several minutes, Maya approached him, Tala still clinging to her. Maya placed a hand over Elias' heart. "You gave me back my world," she whispered. "I cannot repay this." "You don't owe me anything," he said. Maya's eyes softened. "Then perhaps, stay with us. Share a meal. Tell my daughter how you found her. You are part of our story now." Elias hesitated. He had lived alone for so long he almost forgot what warmth felt like. Tala tugged his sleeve. "Please stay, Elias." He looked at her, then at Maya, both standing in the golden morning light, mother and daughter reunited by fate and by him. Elias smiled, a rare, genuine smile. "I'll stay." Inside the cabin, laughter returned for the first time in years. Tala told the story from her perspective, full of excitement. Maya listened with her hand resting over Elias' arm, her touch warm and grateful. That evening, as the sun dipped low behind the desert hills, Maya stepped outside with Elias. "Why did you help us?" she asked quietly. "Because no child should call for their mother and hear silence," he replied. Maya's eyes glistened. "You carry loss too?" Elias nodded. "My wife. Years ago." Maya touched his hand gently. "Then you understand." They stood in comfortable silence as the sky shifted from orange to purple. Tala played with small stones near the cabin, humming softly. Maya leaned closer. "Elias, our lives were torn apart. But you stitched the pieces back together. If you wish to leave after tonight, you may. But if you wish to stay, this home is open to you." Elias looked at her, a strong, beautiful widow who had survived hell for her daughter. And Tala, a brave girl with a spirit bigger than the desert itself. Home. He hadn't used that word in years. But now, maybe he could again. "We'll see," Elias whispered. "One sunset at a time." Maya smiled, and for the first time in a very long while, Elias felt the weight of loneliness begin to lift. And so ended one chapter of The Frontier, where a cowboy found a lost Apache girl and returned her to a mother who never stopped hoping. And in that act, he found something he'd been missing for far too long. A reason to keep living. If you want more frontier tales like this, wild, emotional, and rooted in the spirit of the Old West, stay close to Frontier Echoes. More stories wait on the horizon.